Hey guys, if you haven't been here before, I'm Jamie and this is 20 Something Designs. Today I am going to do a little video on a review of my junior year fall semester and just talk about how crazy it really was. A lot of people say that junior year is the most difficult year of college, especially fall semester, but I didn't know how hard it would be until I started doing it. So basically the classes that I took this semester were a business class and 4 interior design courses. 3 of those design courses were junior level, and then one of them was a sophomore level course, which was a little difficult because I did really notice the difference between sophomore and junior, especially when working with people. So those 4 interior design classes, one was my junior level writing course, which is all about building codes and regulations, which let me tell you is very hard to write about. And then one of them was an online class about structural systems, so I learned a lot about building materials, water systems, electrical systems, mechanical systems, all of that good stuff. Super interesting. And then another class was my Studio One class for junior year, which basically takes everything you've learned thus far as far as the design process and puts it together so that you can create a project using all of those different steps. And then lastly was the sophomore level course, which was basically about the design process as well. So I was taking those at the same time. So a lot of my classmates already knew that information and I did not. So that was interesting as well. So that sophomore level course and Studio One both resulted in a final project, which is what I'm going to show you guys today. And you can kind of see what I've been doing and accumulating throughout the year. So right now what I'm first going to do is just show you the textbooks that I used throughout the year. I do use Chegg to rent my textbooks. One of them was bought off Amazon this year, which is great because that one I'm going to be using for senior year as well. And that is this book right here. And this one is great. Again, it has all that information about all the different systems and architectural elements. So this one is a really great one to have even as I move on into my future career. I can look back at it. And then the other 2 textbooks I have with me right now are for my junior level writing course with the building codes. So one is just called the Codes Guidebook for Interiors. And this one is kind of similar to the last one I just showed you. It just has a lot of different chapters on each of the topics having to do with code. So like plumbing, mechanical, electrical, communication systems, all of that. And then I also have the International Building Code 2015 version. This comes out every 3 years, so there will be one coming out in 2018. The last one was 2012. And that one is just insane. I mean, it's literally just codes and numbers and rules and regulations and literally the law. So that's why it was very hard to write 10-page papers, which was the requirement, on just building codes and specifications. You can't really get into depth with that. And then I did have a couple of other books that I was using for just in general classes, like you can use them for several classes. One was called Construction Drawings and Details, and that one kind of shows like formatting for like titles and other stuff like that. And then the other one had a lot of, it was called Interior Graphic Standards, and that one has a lot of like measurements and standards for that. So now that I've talked to you about that, I do want to show you my final projects, which is going to be awesome. I don't know what you guys are all here for. You know, some of you are just interested in interior design, think it's a cool topic. If you are just here to learn and see cool pictures, that's great. Or if you're interested in being an interior design student yourself, that's amazing, which is why I want to share this kind of stuff so that you guys can kind of see what it's truly like to be a student getting their bachelor's in interior design. And I think if this video goes well, I'll probably do one after each semester just to kind of review. I only have 3 semesters left. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So right now I'm going to show you those projects and how I completed those. Okay, so the first project I'm going to show you is for my Studio One class, which is called ID 361. And basically, we did 2 other projects before this, and they were following along the design process. So the first project was going over like contracts and budgets and whatnot, which I had never done. So that was awesome to learn all of that. The second project, we actually had like a mock client, which was just one of our classmates. So we interviewed them, which I came up with some great questions that I feel like I can use in the future. And then we did some drawings for them and drew out a couple of rooms in a fake house. And then this final project, it was kind of all leading up to this. So the final project was a group project, and it was set up pretty weird. I had never done anything like it. Basically, we were assigned our groups, we met as a group and discussed our ideas for it, the creative ideas, came up with a floor plan and a life safety plan, which is some of what I'm going to show you right now. But then we were supposed to split off on our own and each do 8 elevations for different rooms or walls within the space, and then come back together and decide whose elevations were the best, and then use those for a presentation. So just very strange setup, but hey, that's what you have to do in a major like this, is find out what works best for everyone. So basically the point of this project was to create a facility that was a holistic day spa specifically for patients with multiple sclerosis. So I loved the research aspect of this and finding out more about MS patients and their symptoms and how we can design for them. So it was super fun. We were supposed to choose a mountain town, and the facility was supposed to be at the base of a mountain. So we chose Estes Park, Colorado, because I've actually visited there before. So I told my group that that would be the perfect place. And then it was 4,600 square feet. So 3,600 square feet was to be the spa facility, and 1,000 was to be the residence for the 2 people who own the spa. So basically, when you work for a large design firm and do any kind of project, you're going to come up with a CD set, which stands for construction documents. And you're always going to start with a title page, such as this one. So you're usually going to have the title right there, and then you're going to choose a picture of the place it's in or an actual image of the space, the building itself. And then you're going to have a table of contents over here talking about what each page is going to include. And then you're going to have abbreviations and symbols to show what each thing within your CD set means, so that it's all across the board. People are easily able to understand it as they flip through. And as always, you're going to see that all of my drawings are on what's called a title block. So I have my logo up here for 20-something Designs, and then I have my name, the class, the semester, my professor. You know, typically when you're in your actual career, you're not going to have all of that information. I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but I will be finding out. But then right here, you're always going to have the client or the commercial space and then the address for it, so you know where it's located. And then down at the bottom, you have the page number, and I have like NAU listed there and whatnot. So moving on, this is the dimension floor plan, which I've posted about this before on my Instagram, but I know a lot of people have the misconception that any kind of art major and interior design is just all about coloring and paints and fabrics and pillows and blankets, but it's not that at all. There is so much detailed work that goes into it before you ever get to that. Basically, the design process has specific steps, and you start with coming up with all your ideas. So you come up with a concept statement and a mood board, and you get all those documents in order, and then you have to have your client sign off on it, whether it's commercial or residential, it doesn't matter. Either way, they have to sign off that they're liking your ideas before you can ever implement any of it. And then once you do that, you can start coming up with sketches and drawings and making sure that they like those. And that all happens before you get to the implementation of actually going in and making sure the paints and the finishes and the flooring is in there. So the dimension floor plan is one of the first things that needs to happen. And basically that is going to show no furniture, but it does have like casework and things that are already installed. So that's why we have like in the kitchen up here, we have an island, we have the stove top, the dishwasher, refrigerator. All of those things are usually already going to be installed, so we don't have the bed or anything like that. We just have those fixtures that are going to stay there. And then of course we have the dimensions around it, so you want to know what those exterior walls are, because that's what goes to an architect if it's a new building, so that they can be like, okay, so we've got a wall that's 55 feet, let's do this. And that is how the building gets built. And if it's an already built building and you're adding anything in, same thing. but it's also just always important to have a dimension floor plan just to refer back to. If you want to see, okay, yeah, this wall right here is 5 feet and the window's on that wall, so we need to make sure that we have a couch with a height that's under the window or whatever it may be. You just have to make sure that everything can be measured out. And then the next one we have is the life safety plan, or fire and life safety plan, which I have never done before, and neither had really anyone in my class. So this one is also very important because, as you can see, we have a drawing legend over here on the right. And anywhere you see SF is going to indicate square footage, which we measured out. And then we have smoke detectors. We have audible and visible fire alarms. We have fire extinguishers. So you need to show where all of that is going to go, especially if it's going to be on a wall. And you need to know where your exit signs are so that you can properly show people the way out in case of an emergency. And then this dashed line right here, this is where it got kind of crazy. Basically, there are rules which are in the International Building Code book that I showed you earlier about the minimum travel distance throughout a building. So there's only a certain amount of distance that a person should have to travel from one end to another to safely exit the building. And if it is over a certain amount, you gotta change something. And if it is within that amount, you're good to go. And then these circles right here are actually turn radiuses for wheelchairs, which is typically going to be 5 feet in order for them to turn around. Most wheelchairs are about 3 feet wide or so, so you're going to need a little more space to be able to properly turn around within a corner, within a hallway, whatever it may be. And this whole building needed to be ADA accessible and compliant, as do all new buildings. The residents, not so much. We did make the master bathroom ADA compliant, otherwise it was just the spa facility that needed to be. And moving on, we do have our furniture plan with a keyed legend off to the side, so this just shows all of the furniture and equipment we use, and it does each have a number to it so you can refer back to it on the floor plan. And this shows what it's actually going to look like, just not colored or rendered. So some of the rooms we have our reception and lobby, we have a therapy room, we have a rest area, an exercise room, we had a swimming pool, and this right here is actually a plant wall that had planks and plants attached to it, which you'll see in my elevations and the rendered floor plan. And then we have 2 massage rooms back here, and then all of this is the residence, and here are the ADA compliant bathrooms for our spa guests. Then we have the rendered furniture plan, which this was done on Photoshop. Next year, well, next semester, again, my senior year, I am looking into learning and buying the SketchUp program because it's only $50 for a student, which is awesome. And SketchUp almost looks like Sims, basically, and we've all played Sims, am I right? So SketchUp literally will build the walls for you and help you figure out shadows and lighting depending on the time of year and the time of day. On Photoshop, it's a little harder because you're just doing that all yourself, and a lot of times Photoshop looks a little unrealistic, and I would like my drawings to look more realistic. But for now, this is what I was working with. So we've got wood floors. This gym floor is actually awesome. It's just from Home Depot, and it is like the rubber mat gym floor, but it looks like wood. And then we've got tile in the restrooms and in the kitchen. The swimming pool has concrete. And then we got the plant walls right here, and that's pretty much it. Photoshop is a really cool thing because a lot of times all you have to do is look up tileable wood, and that's a weird word, but it's just tile and then able, and then that way it is going to look like it just continues instead of looking like an image separated each time. So Photoshop is really fun to work with, and I do really like how this turned out. It's one of the projects I'm definitely more proud of as far as how this looks. And then now I want to show you the rendering. So my professor wanted us to do a technical one next to a rendered one. So this is the technical elevation. It has callouts, so you know what everything is, and dimensions. And then here's the rendered one, again, using Photoshop. So this is my reception / lobby elevation, and then my rest area elevation. And we did choose all sustainable furniture. We also chose furniture that was comfy, but yet firm enough for patients with MS to get in and out of. So you're not sinking in and it's hard to get out of. That's not good for anyone. And then we chose the colors to be relaxing, cool, and neutral colors. So that's basically where this came from. And then we have the plant wall elevation right here and the massage room elevation. So this is what I meant by planks and then plants. And then this one is actually Himalayan salt, which you can get at different companies. The one I looked at was sunvalleysalt.com, which is awesome. And there are different colors. I chose the orangey color, but there's purple, there's blue, I think red. But they do actually have an LED light behind them so that it creates like this aura and glow. So that's perfect for the massage room. And then we have the residential elevations. So this is the kitchen right here. Got an oven, a hood for the oven, a double drawer dishwasher, which I had never heard of before, but it's actually really cool. Some more plants, cabinetry, and backsplash. And then this dining room I actually really liked too, how it turned out. Again, the lights and shadows are a little hard. Those aren't my best strong suit, but I am working on that. But other than that, I love the paint color, a little bit of art, and that light fixture is really cool too. And then lastly, we have family room and master bedroom. Again, we kind of went with that same color scheme. And something that's so fun in Photoshop is instead of just making the view outside of the windows like a blue sky or just drawing in shutters or anything, you can put an image behind it so it looks as if you're looking at that view outside of Estes Park. So I really like how these turned out as well. And then the very last thing for this specific project is our materials boards, and basically on those you just put your elevations and your drawings and then call out which materials you used. So now moving on to my project for the sophomore level course 221. It's called Design Methodologies, and same thing, we're going through the design process. This one I don't have as much to show you guys because it was actually turning in physical copies. And for this project, it was actually really interesting because there were 4 roles to choose from. There was a project manager, a communications like administrator, a drafter, and a renderer. And my first choice was the communications, and I ended up getting that, so that was great. And the reason that was so great is because I'm really good at organizing and coming up with document type work. So even though it is an art major and I'm trying to learn how to be artistic, I am also good at organizing the actual documents, which is a good strong suit to have because you never know where you'll end up in the future as part of your career. That might be one of your positions. So I would love to make another video at some point and show you guys the finished product, but I won't have it back until the beginning of January. But basically I put together everything: concept statement, mood board, there's a title and index sheet, research, summary of research, specifications, bubble diagram, all of the drawings that the rest of the group members did. I had to put that all in one book and then go to UPS and get it professionally bound. So it looks so cool and I'm really proud of it. But again, I won't have that actual book to show you and flip through until January. So for now, I just wanted to show you this right here was the title page. I did cut out the other people's names just because I don't want their names on YouTube. But this is how the title page looked with a little logo at the top. And then this was our index sheet. It was actually 32 pages, front and back though, which made it more like 64. But yeah, so we had the title and index, we had a sign-off sheet. The letter of agreement is basically a contract, which I'm going to show you right now. Program document goes over what you can expect to be working on within the space. And then I'm going to show you guys a concept statement, and I'm going to show you a little bit of the spec book, as well as how our material presentation boards turned out. So right here is the concept statement. Concept statements can be difficult. They can be so easy too. Basically, you're just saying your ideas, what the client wants, and how you're going to achieve that. But people, as far as professors, they do like it differently, which can make it difficult. Some are fine with just a simple paragraph, and others really want you to get into it. And for this one, we had to get into it a little more. So basically, our client was Penelope Stacy Flintstone, and this is our concept statement. She was moving to a loft in Kansas City, and that's what we were designing. And then right here is the program which I wrote up. Basically, I'm just saying what we're going to do for her, and then I'm listing each room and some of the things that she wanted in the room, whether they were needs or wants or requirements. And then this is the letter of agreement. Some people call it a contract. It is technically called a proposal because this is what you're proposing to the client. So it lists the basic services. So, and this does talk about the phases of the design process. So that's interesting as well. The first one is the programming phase. We have the schematic design phase, the design development phase, contract phase, contract administration phase. It just goes on. And then right here we have a termination agreement, which is what would be in a real contract. It's just saying that, you know, if the client feels the designer isn't doing their job, they can terminate them and ask them to not do the project anymore, and vice versa. We have ownership and use of drawings, which is super important because a lot of times a client or a person will meet with a designer, have them come up with drawings, and then the designer will just hand over the drawings and they'll never hear from the client again. So this is just saying that I do own the drawings. I am, not for this project, but if it were a real contract, I own the drawings. I'm not just going to give them to the client, or if you want them, you need to pay me. And then right under it is the compensation agreement as well, which we just came up with some numbers. So you can get paid in an hourly rate, or you can get paid per day, per week. It doesn't really matter, whatever you choose as a designer, unless your firm specifies. So for this one, I said we'll be paid at an hourly rate of $75, but not to exceed $40,000. And then the time frame for the project was to be no longer than 6 months. And then this was an example of the specification sheet, and this is one of the ones I did. So I chose a metal bed from Restoration Hardware, which is one of my favorite companies ever. So check it out if you ever want. It's in Scottsdale, actually. But yeah, so this is what it looks like. You just list what it is. I have the key right here, so we know where to find it on the floor plan, where it's from, what it's called, and the specs for it. And then these are what our boards looked like. I gotta say, I do like my other project a little bit more than this one, but as always, you gotta take ownership and be proud of anything you do and just learn from it. And I learned a lot from this project, especially working with other people, because I did have a little bit of difficulty there, but that's how life works and how school works and how a real job will work. So what are you gonna do? But basically this is what it looks like. That's our floor plan and our perspective. Here's an elevation, and here are the materials. And then here's the last one, some more materials, just showing what we use. We have actual flooring samples, which is always cool to use, like actual physical samples, to really bring that together. So this is basically the end of my video. Those are the only two projects I could really show. My other classes mostly consisted of essays and tests and exams and discussion boards. But overall, it was just a lot of work this semester, a lot. But it was worth it because I learned more than I've probably ever learned so far in college, just because it was new information this time. A lot of my other classes, it was information I did already know, but maybe needed a refresher on. This time, it was pretty much all new. And next semester, I am so excited because I get to take my first event planning class for my event management certificate. I'll also be taking a few more interior design courses and an art history course. So hopefully I can review those for you again at the end of spring, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. Thanks so much for watching.